Good morning and welcome to the Driller Newscast, episode 18. Happy birthday, America. 246 years plus one day. It's July 5th. Let's get back to our week. I hope you had a wonderful and safe 4th of July holiday, but it's time to get back to work. It's third quarter, and this week we are going to discuss the Water Systems Council State of the Water Well Industry 2022 report, their first ever report. But before we get into the state of our industry, let's get refocused on safety after this great, wonderful 4th of July holiday.
I want us to get refocused. It's the third quarter. We just had an excellent holiday weekend, but let's talk about injuries that happened in first and second quarter and near misses. Did you just say what, Brock? We near misses, we don't have those. We're tough men. Let's think about this. Anytime we've went, whoa, or that was close, or I can't wait to tell this story at the bar, it was a near miss. And if we'd been a half a step to the right or the left, or standing on the platform, or right under that load, it could have been that injury. So we got to ask these three questions. What was expected to happen today? What really happened? How do we prevent it from happening again? And we prevent them by documenting them. If you've been in that situation where you've laughed uncontrollably because you're somewhat scared and kind of like, wow, we just missed that, it's time to discuss if that's the right standard operating procedure for us. Just think about this. There's 600 unsafe acts that go into 30 minor incidents, into 10 injuries that lead up to that catastrophic manglement, somebody no longer working in our industry, or dead. So let's get that box. Let's get our teams reporting near misses. Just like General Patton says, do we train the way we fight, or do we fight the way we train? Let's look at our job safety analysis. Let's look at our standard operating procedures. And is it really the way we do it? If I pulled that out with the new team and I went through those steps, is this exactly how it's going to work out? Or are you going to go, no? Sometimes we got to bleed a little bit. Sometimes those tongs bite you, or that hoisting plug just isn't as good as it used to be, or we keep fraying cables on this hoist. All things that we need to think about. And from an OSHA perspective, there's a whistleblower program that if an individual reports unsafe conditions, reports an injury, they're protected. And there was just a $650,000 suit that just came out last month to a construction company over retaliation. So let's just have a good safety culture. Let's think about everything that's happened in the first and second quarter as we go into, it's time to move because we got a lot of work to finish before winter, and how we're going to handle that. And it's a top-down leadership, owners, supervisors, foremen, employees. And it's bottom up, employees, supervisors, foremen, leadership, owner. We all have to have these discussions so that we can be safer. Next time we have that, whoa, I can't believe that just happened, let's text our boss and say, this is what's up and this is how we need to make it safer. Be safe. Have a great, productive third quarter. For our news and featured story of the week, we're going to discuss the Water System Council's State of the Water Well Industry report that was just released. One of the biggest quotes in there was, the industry is approaching a cliff. 52% of workforce is at or near retirement age, 55 plus. Given the rate at which young people are entering the industry, they will be difficult to replace. This is no different than what the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed us earlier in our episodes, where 1 out of 5 construction workers is older than 55. In episode 8, we discussed what our employment playing field looks like. There's 7.6 million construction workers out of the 166 million employees in the United States. The highest paid jobs in construction is electricians, plumbers, pipe fitters, and carpenters. If we drill into that 7.6 million workers, roughly 1.2 million workers operate construction equipment, which includes mining and drill rigs. So if we go deeper into that, less than 1% of that 7.6 million workers are involved in the water well industry. In episode 9, we discussed that 3,650,000 high schoolers are available to be part of our workforce. That's the graduating senior class. Did you hire any? Our employment rate right now is 3.6%. And in episode 10, we talked about living wage and earnings. And the average employee makes $27 an hour. The average employee in construction industry makes $18 an hour. It's tough work, long hours, big expectations. And here we are, $9 an hour lower. We as an industry, we have to do a better job recruiting, onboarding, creating opportunities with fair wages and benefits. And one of the greatest ways we do this is to show the rest of the world what our industry is doing, how important we are. And one of the greatest ways we can do that is contribute our knowledge, opinions, to the studies like the Water System Council's State of the Water Well Industry. For this week's Industry Professional, Industry Council, we're going to visit with the Water System Council and Margaret Martins, who is the Executive Director. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
I'm happy to have you. How did you get into the industry?
You know, Brock, it was kind of a fluke, actually. The previous executive director lived in a town that I worked for the local town government, helping them put on their town events and promotions. And the woman lived in Davidson, North Carolina, and she was looking for somebody to help with the Water Systems Council events. In particular, the Water Systems Council has put on these children's water festivals where we would bring in about 1,500 fourth graders or fifth graders, whatever grade it is, it's studying the water cycle, and teach them, have an all-day event teaching them all about protecting their groundwater resources. So this was in 2009 when the recession, and so the town laid off about half of the employees. At the same time, the woman heard that I had been laid off, and so she called me. I was getting ready to take another corporate type job, and she called me up and said, "Come sit on my back porch and talk to me for an hour." And I did, and she offered me the job to help with their events, and I couldn't even accept the job right away because I was just so shocked. It came out of nowhere. But really, I think it was somebody saying, "This is where Margaret needs to be." And so I've been with them since 2010 and have loved the work and love the people that I work with. So
that is fantastic. And we need that next generation as soon as possible, understanding about the water cycle in our industry.
Right. No, one of the big things was we would get a driller come and bring his rig. And boy, that was a very popular event. The kids really love seeing rig.
I'm a big kid myself, and I still love seeing rigs.
I do too. In fact, I see a well being drilled in my neighborhood, and I'll pull over and take pictures and everything. And the contractor's like, "This lady's," and so I have to explain to them that I run the trade association for the water well industry. So,
and that's a great segue.
Yes.
As you're pulling up and saying, "Hey, I'm Margaret with the Water System Council." Yeah. Tell our audience about what the Water System Council does and how you advocate for our industry.
Well, our mission is to protect and promote water well systems. So that is our top thing, is that we try to push out information and resources about how to take care of your groundwater resources, but also about the importance of the water well industry. So we do a lot of advocating at the national level. We have a really great lobbyist, government affairs person that is in Washington, D.C., and he helps us work with EPA to get some funding that we have, so to help educate the American public about their wells and well systems. Water Systems Council has a national hotline that's been in existence since 2003. So if people call EPA's Safe Drinking Water Hotline and they are on a private well, they are told to call our hotline, or they're patched through to our hotline. Our hotline has received over 130,000 questions in its existence. So we do a lot of pushing out of information about how to maintain your well. About 70% of the questions that we get are about testing and treatment, about water quality. So we work a lot with our well owners within the United States. We also do lots of publications to help educate people. We've got over 110 information sheets on various things about, how your well system works, if you come across a naturally occurring contaminant, what to do about that. So we've got a well owner's manual that I think we've sent out over 65,000 copies of our well owner's manual. It's got a well log in the front and a well diagram and just basic information about your well that we've sent to like EPA offices, then they disseminate. So that has gone all over the place. So we also advocate at the state level and local levels. We have a wonderful water rights attorney that a lot of people probably have heard speak before, Jesse Richardson. And so we do get involved in things like fighting against mandatory hookup, fighting for the right to drill a well in a particular area. We've been in cases in, say, for instance, Arizona, we were in a case there that went to the Supreme Court that was all about whether or not you had a right to drill a well. And we did win that case. We've been in other cases throughout the country. In Georgia, we were involved with the Georgia Groundwater Professional Association there with a case where it went again all the way to the Georgia Supreme Court. And this was a wonderful case because it set precedent where the Supreme Court said, you have a right to drill a well on your property, even if you are within city limits. So that is a really big case. So that was in Sandersville, Georgia. So we take a lot of different roads to advocate for wells and well systems. Our members are the major manufacturers of products that go into wells and the distributors of those products. Also, like I say, state associations of groundwater professionals are members, and as well as contractors and sales representatives. So we've got a great collection of people throughout the industry. So gives us a well-rounded voice as far as giving us direction as to what we need to be working on behalf of the water well industry. So
that is fantastic, and we need the advocation, and water rights is just going to increase. It's something we cover a lot on the newscast right now, and with the waters of the United States happening right now, there's so much that we should all be listening and talking about and sharing our perspectives.
Right. There's a Supreme Court case coming up that's going to be dealing
this October. Yes.
Saget case.
Yep.
And so, yes, we're watching that very closely. In fact, Jesse's trying to get a ticket to be there. We were involved in a Supreme Court case, the Maui County case, that we did an amicus brief for. NGWA and Water Systems Council went in on that together. And so that was a very important case. But unfortunately, that Maui County case only blurred the lines of drilling as opposed to making things clearer. So we're hoping the Saget case will clear things up a little bit. But you're right, water rights is a huge issue, and it's a big issue in the West, and obviously the drought is impacting that even more so. So we're constantly watching that. Governor Newsom just put out that executive order where he's limiting the drilling of ag wells. And now the domestic wells were exempt, anything 2 acre feet or less, that was exempt from this, but there's new heavy restriction on ag wells. And as a lot of people say in the industry, what happens in California ends up rolling across the country kind of thing. So again, Water Systems Council, our attorneys, our government affairs folks, and our members are constantly monitoring what's going on as far as water rights.
Yeah, in just last week's episode, we covered the droughts globally. And, we just saw a Senate hearing committee discuss the Western United States drought. And we look at what's happening with the Colorado River Compact,
right?
The Upper Basin, and now Mexico is starting to see what's happening with, New Mexico and Texas not getting water, along with the Ogallala depleting. And
Right.
we're not even thinking about our friends to the south that also share into our watershed,
Hmm.
Rio Grande. So there's a lot going on there.
Yes, there is. There is. There's every day there's something new to talk about. So,
It is. And I geeked out on water rights, but we need to get back on task here. And one of the latest things the Water System Council just came out with is the United States of Water Well Industry Report.
mhm.
What is that?
So we are very excited about this. There has never been a report on the state of the water well industry for the United States. So this is an idea that we had kicked around for years and discussed on our board, and we decided to take the big leap of faith in 2021 and put together a survey. We worked with a third-party marketing firm, Thrive Marketing, and we had a panel that worked on this. It was a couple of manufacturers, a couple of big distributors, a well contractor. So again, liking to, pool our resources and work together on this kind of thing. And it took us about 6 months of meetings, at least twice a month, if not every week, to decide the questions that we wanted to have for this survey. Because obviously the questions, we were going to then compile the data from those questions and make this report. So that's exactly what we did. The survey was introduced in November of 2021 and was pushed out by our manufacturer members, our distributor members, and Water Systems Council. The state associations also shared the link to all their members. The idea was, I found interesting was our manufacturer members on this development committee that worked on the survey, they really wanted to hear what the contractors had to say. They weren't as interested. You'd think they'd want to also hear what their counterparts are saying, but they really were much more interested to hear what contractors were saying, because obviously what the contractors are saying, shapes the work that they do and the directions that they go in. So like I say, we worked for about 6 months, put this survey together. It was pushed out in November. The manufacturers sent it to their email list. The distributors sent it to their email list. The state associations helped disseminate it. We sent it obviously to our email list. And then we obviously were asking for participation at Groundwater Week. We had a couple of raffles that kind of drove a little interest there. And we closed out the survey in mid-January and compiled that data. And that's what came up with this report. And we're very excited about it because it talks about all sorts of things that are of interest to the water well industry.
So we are a tribal, self-taught, secret industry. We don't like pulling the curtain back. Some of the best R&D and information that happens at the back of the shop or on a job site, and we can't tell anybody. So we don't want our competitors possibly, doing the same thing. So with that, getting them to share their information about their companies, how was this information interpreted?
Well, so the information, again, the data was compiled by the third party Thrive Marketing. The responses would go to Thrive and then they would compile that data. And it's ended up, and it is in various sections. So first of all, we wanted to look at the survey respondent makeup. So for instance, the survey was, I think we had 831 responses, and 71% of those respondents were contractors. And that, again, was very exciting to the people who developed this. Distributors made up 14%. And I know that's because one of my distributor members was pushing it out to all his people. Manufacturers only made up about 11% of the respondents. So, but then it also talks about the industry makeup, which is really interesting, I think, for contractors to see. For instance, the average well contractor has 2.2 drill rigs and an average of 2 derrick trucks. And, it tells about the number of wells drilled per driller, that type of thing. We also look at the industry outlook, the positive and negative factors that are affecting the industry. We talk about regulation, environmental impact, technology investments, the COVID impact. which, is again, something very interesting and kind of unique to our industry, since the COVID impact was actually positive for our industry. Where a lot of people, other industries suffered, we did not. I've never seen well contractors busier. So I think everybody's seen that. Also part of the report, in addition, we did a well report within this report where we reached out to all the states and got numbers of wells drilled from 2016 to 2020. And so there were 6 states that they do not compile that information, unfortunately, but still it gives you a good picture of where we are in the drilling world. And those numbers reflect that the workload that we now see our well contractors have. So there is a ton of information in this report.
So that leads into my next question, but you've basically answered it already. Who benefits from this report?
I would say anybody in the water well industry benefits from this report. I mean, well contractors can look at it. I know that some people do these reports and they want them, so that they can compare, their business to others' business. So there is some of that in here, but you can also, look at things like, you can see like different regulations affect people differently throughout the country. So, water rights in the West is a much bigger thing than it is in the East. So, it tells people like that. Our manufacturer members, they can see what's important to contractors. For instance, they can see that, whereas I think a lot of manufacturers think contractors are not drawn to new technology, this totally reflects it differently. It says that contractors are very much interested in seeing new technology. So there's so it can benefit the manufacturers and distributors and people who sell to contractors and turn around, and it can help the contractors. And it helps us as an organization know what we need to be advocating for. And again, we take it up on the Hill and we show our senators. We were just in a meeting with Senator Bozeman. He's one of our big advocates out of Arkansas. And we just had at our fly-in, we had a personal meeting with him. And my members were saying, okay, we are having problems with supply chain issues. We are having problems with staffing. What's happening, at the federal level? What are you doing to help us with that? So it also guides our advocacy even at the federal level.
And that's wonderful, because we've seen 2 great things come out of DC recently. One was earlier this year in a supply chain report for what we need for, geothermal technologies and water, and what we need to be, secure and independent. And the most recent, Congress was just having with the White House a big discussion about pipeline of talent and how we can do a better job of training. And one thing that I'd love to see is us as a water well, or us as a drilling industry, more involved in the how do we advocate for our talent, and how do we let DC know that, hey, we're here too. Because I've done the report, roofing, electrical, plumbing, there's several other sections of construction that have much more young men and women coming in and entering the industry than we do in our industry.
And again, the report shows that the average age of a well contractor is about 11 years older than the average age of an American worker. So it does show that disparity within our industry. So it can help us when we want to promote more people coming into the industry. Water Systems Council also produces the Water Systems Handbook, which we consider the Bible for water well contractors. It's what people use to study for certification, et cetera. And we've got our 13th edition is about ready to be published. And so that gives us an opportunity when we're publishing it and trying to get the word out, is we know that we want to target the younger audience. And from that, we will develop some training, because it's got 8 different sections, and we've done this before, that we've used it then to take it out to state association meetings, to Groundwater Week, to Jubilee, and provide technical assistance and training for newcomers to the industry.
That is wonderful. So my final question with this State of the Water Well Industry report, were you satisfied with participation, or how would we like to get more people to participate? I will say personally, my Great Lakes states, colleagues, friends, family, we didn't represent as well as we could have for as many wells that are drilled.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes,
what would you like to see?
I always want to see more. I will say that the people that we worked with, the Thrive Marketing folks, they felt that we had very good participation. But I want to see more participation all across the board. I think the contractors did great, but more participation from contractors would be even better. And our manufacturers and our distributors need to step up, because the things that they have to teach us too are things that contractors want to see. So no, I would really like to see more participation. We'll be pushing out the survey again, probably in November, the 2022 survey. We'll be working hard to get people at Groundwater Week to be doing the survey right then and there, and probably be able to win another drone or a tablet or something, which is always fun, to have that kind of thing going on, because it's fun when somebody wins. They can't believe it, because sometimes they think it's a scam kind of thing. But I think the more participation, the better. And again, we'll work with our Water Systems Council members, especially our state associations. They're our conduit to all the to the well contractors and groundwater professionals. So NGWA obviously can be a partner with us and help us push out the survey as well. They've got tons of contractor members, and they are a member of Water Systems Council, and we are a member of their association. So we are always looking for avenues to get people to participate. And just so people know, the survey is on our website. There's a portal. You can download it for free. All we ask is for your email address. So in November, we can send you the next survey so you can participate and have a voice. We always say you have a voice, and we want to be that voice for the water well industry. And so by participating, you can be heard.
And that's such an important aspect, is us being allowed to have a voice. And the information, everybody, go download this, get your email address into the council, and read the information. There is some great insight in there that I think we should all be talking about, and you will hear me talking more about it. Well, Margaret, I want to thank you for spending time with me today and giving us, you pulling the curtain back on the Water System Council, educating us on what you all do and how big you have as an impact of everything that's going on. So thank you. And folks, everybody out there, we need to be paying attention to all of the great resources Water System Council has. And we got to be part of this survey so that we can show 1,600 or 2,000 people and that information, so that, yes, our manufacturers know it's time to ramp up. I can buy 10 trucks to start the year for building rigs, or what we're doing with our pump hoist and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Well, thank you very much, Brock, for giving me a chance to talk about Water Systems Council and our nonprofit, the Water Well Trust.
Thank you. This has been the Driller Newscast, episode 18. Thank you to Margaret and the Water System Council for creating a report that reflects our voice in the industry. For the first report, 830 contributions, which is a pretty good start to understanding our industry. The Water System Council is working on the 2023 survey right now. It'll be coming out in emails. They'll be at the Jubilee. They'll be at the National Groundwater Association. We need more participation. Let's see if we can get to 8,300 contributions for 2023. It's still just a small subset. I look at the numbers that we see for states that participated in the Great Lakes states. We did a poor job for as many wells and water well contractors we have. The big states, Texas, California, and Florida, they definitely have their voice heard. But hey, Great Lakes, we've talked about this before. We got 1/5 of the world's fresh water supply right there. We need to have our voice heard. This information is very important to our manufacturers, to our investors in the industry, to the outside world to understand what it takes for our industry to build, recruiting new people. They need to know that our industry is alive and thriving. And this talk right now of, with the inflation and stuff, recession, we have the federal infrastructure law that's going on, lots of drilling there. We have geothermal that is net zero is so important. There will be plenty of geothermal work. We always have replacement water wells that will be done and new house builds, especially with building prices coming down. We have cathodic drilling, the infrastructure again of being able to protect our pipelines and all of the aspects there. There is plenty of work to be done. We do not need to go down the rabbit hole of thinking that our industry is going to be stunted from this. We have too much work and we need to recruit. We need to do the right thing. Thank you for joining us. Check out thedriller.com. Have a great third quarter.